Here comes the real bird. Blight!
Hi there guys, this is Richard, your host, with another marvelous video. This time, 10 darkest moments of Batman Beyond, the animated series. Following the colossal success of Batman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond took over the screens and told the story of Terry McGinnis. This exceptional high school student is the protege of Bruce Wayne and wears the crown of being the new Batman. But life in Gotham is a bit different now than what it was when Bruce was Batman. Following Bruce Wayne's retirement from being Batman after he had picked up the gun after suffering from a heart attack in a hostage situation, he secludes himself. Decades later, Terry McGinnis steals his suit to fight the killer of his father, Derek Powers, who has also taken over Wayne Enterprises. In this future, Gotham is brimming with drug dealers and gangs, but even though Bruce Wayne is out of action, Terry McGinnis is here to protect the city. The city is futuristic with ultra-high technology, but there is still crime. Terry McGinnis fights crime as Batman with background help from Bruce Wayne. Even though several writers have tried to present the Dark Knight in a new light, few have found as much success as Paul Dini, Bruce Trim, and Alan Burnett, who have nailed their portrayal of Terry and his techno batsuit.
Yeah!
However, Warner Brothers had tasked them with making the show more kid-friendly, considering the protagonist this time is a high schooler. The show went on to be a lot more mature than its predecessors, even though Batman the Animated Series wasn't devoid of its dark moments, with episodes highlighting Bruce's mental despair, villains who use mind control to win the affection of the woman they love, and Penguin trying to carry out brutal killings. Batman Beyond dives into a world of body horror, soul transfers, several deaths, and drugs. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Ra's al Ghul housed his soul in Talia's body. Bruce goes through the pictures of the women in his life on his birthday when Talia comes in to wish him a happy birthday. As a birthday gift, she offers to give him the powers of Ra's al Ghul's Lazarus Pit to make him young again. Meanwhile, Bruce gets attacked by muggers as he heads to Talia's hotel and finds himself helpless until the present-day Batman, Terry, comes in to save him. He meets Talia, who offers to merge their corporations and spread their philanthropy. On being exposed to the Lazarus Pit, he's maddened at first, but Talia sedates him quickly. He regains his physique from his time as Batman, and Talia confirms that the process will take months to complete.
A side effect of the pit's restorative powers.
While gymming with Terry, Bruce believes he's cheating and tries to leave when Talia's estate thugs try to stop them. After a fight, Bruce hears Ra's al Ghul's voice, which is shocking as he knew that Ra's was dead. He breaks in and sees Talia, except she speaks in Rash's voice. Bruce and Terry are then rendered unconscious. Bruce reawakens to find himself hooked to a device, as Ra's appears in Talia's body and explains how, after their last battle, his body was too damaged for even the pit to restore. This is why he asked Talia to sacrifice herself so that he could transfer his consciousness into her body. But back then, Rash's computer could have only pulled it off with a close genetic relative. Having refined this computer, he intended to use Bruce's body next and take over his fortune and company. Terry interrupts the mind transfer and fights Ra's. Bruce manages to electrocute Ra's and start a fire. He breaks out with Terry and watches the mansion explode while Ra's tries to salvage his computer.
Freeze, no!
Mr. Freeze sacrifices his own life to save Batman. Derek Powers' skin begins to crack, much to his displeasure. However, a solution comes to him in the form of Dr. Stephanie Lake, who offers to clone his body and transfer his consciousness into the new body.
I could use your baseline DNA to build you a new body, then transfer your neural patterns into it.
So they decide to test out the procedure on the severed but immortal head of Mr. Freeze that was kept in a Wayne Powers vault. The procedure is successful, and Victor Freeze, or Mr. Freeze, can feel the heat and cold like a regular person.
Cold. It feels cold.
However, this time, Freeze tries to make amends by starting an organization to help the people he had hurt in the past. Bruce isn't quick to sympathize with him and his blood money, but Terry believes Freeze is really trying to change. Soon, Freeze realizes that his body felt uncomfortable in the heat, but he stabilizes when it begins to snow. He realizes that his body is turning back to what it once was. He informs Powers and Dr. Lake about it, and Dr. Lake seals him inside a cell and turns up the heat. He escapes and seeks revenge on the duo for their betrayal. Meanwhile, Freeze covers the building in ice and appears in a super powerful suit with freeze guns in his gauntlets. He freezes Dr. Lake and Powers in icy coffins and heads toward the power generators. Powers uses his radioactive heat to break free, while Batman pleads Freeze to not overload the systems. But Freeze is hell-bent on collapsing the building and sacrificing himself in the process. He encases Batman in ice and takes on Powers, while the latter comes in his radioactive glory. Powers, now known as Blight, tries to kill Batman, but Freeze saves him by hitting Blight. Batman stops the system overload and is forced to escape, while Freeze dies in the explosion. Starro had been controlling Superman to reproduce its species. Micron gets badly wounded while trying to save a monorail from crashing in Metropolis. Meanwhile, Superman arrives at the Batcave and offers Terry a spot in the Justice League Unlimited. Terry agrees to visit the Watchtower. Superman reveals Micron's mortal state to Terry and tells him about an insider trying to kill the members, as Micron was attacked in a way only an insider would know. A series of explosions threaten Gotham and the JLU sets off. Warhawk is killed and the Batmobile crashes. Batman tells the others how they followed a distress call, but the members claim to not have received any, just like Terry. Bruce investigates the case and realizes that a beam had hit the missile that killed Warhawk and finds its source, which turns out to be Superman's heat vision. Bruce gives Terry access to a high-tech security system with kryptonite to stop Superman. He also shows the footage to the JLU barring Superman, but Bardo refuses to believe it and thinks Terry fabricated the entire story. At the same time, Warhawk reveals himself to have escaped the missile.
Warhawk!
The JLU confronts Superman, who becomes defensive. Marina touches his chest when an alien eye pops out and Superman attacks. Micron awakens and seizes Superman, while Terry's belt with kryptonite is knocked out. Superman escapes, and the JLU believes he is at the Fortress of Solitude. The team heads there and Batman disables him with kryptonite. He pulls off his tunic and finds a starfish-like creature, Starro, on his skin. Marina connects with it and learns that it wants to control Superman. Marina finds hundreds and thousands of these creatures in an underground pool, and Superman was apparently breeding them under its direction. They attach themselves to the League members, and only Batman is free as he electrocutes them in his suit. Everyone attacks Batman, who flees. The others prepare to release the creatures while Starro, Superman, trails Terry. Starro confronts Batman and asks Batman to join them, but Batman electrocutes it again. Superman recovers and pulls it off his chest. They head back to the fortress and Superman frees the others, while Superman tries to block the entrance and stop the starfish creatures from taking over. Later, they collect the creatures in a tank constructed by Lantern, and Marina learns of Starro's homeland. In Bardo's mother box, it is sent home. Mr. Fixx destroys the Hovercraft and dies with it. Bruce analyzes a disc and learns of Wayne Powers developing a gas to destroy healthy cells and informs Barbara Gordon about it. Derek Powers and Mr. Fixx arrive and almost run Terry down, demanding the disc, but Terry escapes after returning the disc. Later, Bruce finds a restrained Ace and a stolen Batsuit from his Batcave. Terry heads towards Wayne Powers in the suit and eavesdrops on a conversation between Powers and Egan's, who intend to ship out the gas with Mr. Fixx overseeing it.
My assistant, Mr. Fixx, will personally supervise the shipment.
The guards find Terry and attack him and try to inform Powers about it. Terry evades them while Bruce calls him, asking for the suit.
Now listen to me, McGinnis. I want that suit back. And I want it now.
When Terry refuses, Bruce activates a switch to paralyze him. However, Bruce reactivates the suit, and Terry is able to fight back. Terry heads to the transport pad to stop the shipment of the gas and tells Bruce that this is his chance to find his father's killer. He finds Powers and Fixx loading the gas, and Fixx takes off in a hovercraft. Powers and Terry fight, but Terry chooses to chase after Fixx instead. He gets ambushed by Fixx, but Terry knocks him into the ship's controls, causing the hovercraft to fall into the ocean. The cargo and Fixx get buried together. The next day, Bruce offers Terry to become the new Batman. Meanwhile, an injured Powers exposes himself to radiation therapy with the gas's mutagenic powers, which strengthens his radiation.
According to his son, Derek Powers was hiding aboard the sub when its long-dormant reactor apparently breached.
Derek Powers, aka Blight, assassinated by his own son. Batman and Blight get into an altercation over a polymer robbery. Blight escapes and Batman finds a Wayne Powers ID on one of Blight's thugs, causing him to draw a correlation between Blight and Derek's powers. Meanwhile, Blight fumes over his radiation and temper ruining his body. He calls for his son Paxton and tells him about his condition after making him the temporary chairman of the Wayne Powers board. During a meeting with the board, Derek reveals this decision to everyone. Bruce was also in attendance. The people object and villagers from Verdeza protest over Paxton polluting their rivers. When one of them dumps tainted water on Powers, he loses control and turns it into Blight. Batman arrives and fights Blight, but the latter escapes. Batman analyzes the data and learns how the nerve gas caused Powers to turn into Blight. Paxton takes over the company temporarily and refuses to create a hideout for Derek. He summons Batman and shows him a device that can absorb Powers' radiation. Batman agrees to help, while Paxton asks his henchman, Mr. Mendez, to kill Terry. However, Batman learns that Blight is at the docks and sends the location to Paxton. Over the intercom, Batman tells Blight that he seeks vengeance as Powers had killed his father. However, Batman realizes that Paxton has betrayed him after he walks into a trap. Paxton turns a radiation-sucking machine on to drain Powers to his death, and Mendez fires at Batman. However, he misses and destroys the machine's control. Paxton flees and Blight causes the submarine to sink. Batman saves Mendez and their henchmen, but Blight goes down. Terry turns into a man-bat. At Hamilton Hill High School, Chelsea, who now has cat eyes, hands out business cards from the Chimera Institute. The company can splice human DNA with that of animals. Terry watches a video later that day with Bruce where Dr. Abel Cuvier talks about splicing being safe and reversible. Bruce and Terry find this suspicious. A teenager spliced with the DNA of a ram has turned aggressive, while DA Sam Young tries to stop the operation. Other spliced people keep causing trouble throughout the city. Batman goes to the Chimera Institute with Dana, where Cuvier is reluctant in allowing his practice to die out and sends thugs to kill Young. Batman, cloaked in his suit, notices it, but Tigress detects him and he's captured. He is shackled to a metal ring and is spliced with the DNA of a bat. Batman breaks out and attacks Cuvier but begins to feel dizzy. He then flies out to Sam's house to save him, who has been attacked by spliced thugs. Batman arrives and fights the thugs off, but he grows violent and his mouth foams. He then leaves Sam's place in a hurry. Barbara warns Bruce about Terry's situation, but fortunately, Bruce has created an antidote. However, Ace begins to growl as Terry appears as the Man-Bat. He attacks Bruce, but ultimately is hit with the dart filled with the splicing antidote. Man-Bat becomes Terry again, and they use Cuvier's claw, which was stuck to the Batsuit, to track him down. They go to a taxidermy facility where they are attacked by thugs, while Cuvier injects himself with doses of animal DNA. He mutates into a hawk, snake, and a tiger, calling himself the true Chimera. In the end, the creature hits a power cable and ignites the gasoline. Batman escapes the explosion, but Cuvier allegedly dies.
Hold your fire!
Barbara Gordon sees Batman committing murder. Terry crashes a suspicious delivery and finds armed police officers and Barbara Gordon in the cargo container. An enraged Gordon heads to Wayne Manor and tells Bruce about Terry messing up a police sting operation. With Terry's juvenile record, she threatens to end his run as Batman if he messes up again. The next day, Gordon's benefit dinner is ruined by Mad Stan. Batman arrives to fight him in the parking garage and Gordon follows with a gun. Batman disarms Stan's massive bomb and drops him to the ground. He then brings the bomb on Stan's head twice. Gordon is shocked and asks Terry to freeze, but he disappears. The other officers confirm Stan to be dead. Gordon orders for Terry's arrest and goes to Bruce when she's unable to find him. Meanwhile, Terry hides out with Max and is shocked to hear that he has been accused of murder from Bruce. He swears that he only knocked Stan out while Bruce examines the security footage and finds that an interference has blocked out some crucial moments. Bruce smells something strange and believes that Terry has been framed.
There was some kind of electronic interference. I couldn't see anything.
Oh, jeez, Bruce, you...
Terry heads to the morgue to examine Mad Stan's body, but is unable to find it. The alarm shoots off and the police corner him. He escapes and is taken to a movie theater by Bruce and is shown that a shadowy figure probably framed him. Bruce tries to contact Gordon, but she refuses. Batman pretends to surrender and throws his batarang. Spellbinder is exposed, hiding behind Gordon as an invisible figure. Turns out he used his illusion to make Gordon think that Terry committed murder. He taunts her for being ready to believe the worst about Batman and being an easy victim. In the end, Gordon apologizes to Terry and Mad Stan is revealed to be alive.
Tell him.
Inque tries to kill Batman by forcing herself down his throat. Employee Aaron Herbst frees Inque, who was trapped in ice to take revenge on his company for firing him. Bruce and Terry are alerted of her escape and she's shown to hold the employees hostage. Terry leaves with Mr. Freeze's cold gun. At the site, he notices one of the employees in a black coat and deduces that the coat is Inque. The police arrive and shoot at both Batman and Inque, but the latter escapes with Freeze's gun. Inque goes to Aaron and asks for his help. Bruce gives Terry an electrified batarang to fight her. Meanwhile, Inque and Aaron steal the chemicals from a lab and Aaron asks to be mutated. Batman crashes their party and is subdued by Inque, but he breaks free and takes his batarang. However, Aaron knocks him out and Inque plans to kill Terry and Bruce. Inque heals herself and restrains Batman with a chain. He contacts Bruce with his whereabouts. Inque lies about them being at the Gotham Hills Arena and threatens to kill Batman if Bruce does not come alone. However, she is unaware of Bruce being the old Batman. Terry tries to stop Bruce, but Inque shuts him up by kissing him. Later, she injects Aaron with the mutagen. Bruce arrives dressed in oversized clothes to conceal his face. He notices Aaron, who is now a shapeless blob, and complains about Inque giving him half the treatment. He heads towards Terry, who is Inque in disguise. She attacks Bruce and tries to crush him to death. Bruce jumps out and is revealed to wear his exosuit despite the risks. She attacks Bruce, but an enraged and betrayed Aaron wraps himself around her and knocks her down the center ring. Terry, now free, throws his batarang at the glass ceiling and Inque melts away, dissolving into the drains. She is then encased in a glass container. Bane selling a new Venom patch drug to school kids. An illegal arms deal with the Joker's crowd is interrupted by Batman and one of the Jokers blows up the delivery van. Dana takes Terry to the game, where they see one of the players, Mason, slap a patch onto his arm, causing his arm to bulge with muscle. That night, Mason attempts to rob an electronics store with two teenagers, but they're caught by Batman. Mason slaps 3 patches again and overpowers Batman. They escape. Mason's friends at school notice that he doesn't look too good. However, he begins to feel better after slapping on another patch. At night, Batman searches Mason's locker and seizes the patches. When Mary suspects that Terry is in trouble, oblivious to him being Batman, she catches Mason's slappers inside his bag. Believing that he's on drugs, Mary grounds him. Terry manages to hand the slappers to Bruce, who finds it to be laced with venom. However, only Bane, Bruce's old enemy, had the formula. So, Batman goes to Bane's estate and finds him in a frail state. Chapel claims it's because of his addiction to venom, and Batman heads out to find the supplier. When a delivery heads in for Mason, Batman puts a tracker on the car. It goes to a secret slapper factory run by Chapel himself. Turns out, Bane had entrusted the formula to Chapel, who felt responsible to keep Bane alive as he was now dependent on the drug. Chapel fights Batman, amped up on 4 slappers, and overpowers him. Batman throws him onto the slapper machine, causing Chapel to get huge and strong. Batman then blinds him with a small chemical explosion, and Chapel tries to attack wildly. However, his mind leaves him following the overdose. Later, Mason, his friends, and their coach are arrested by the police. Ace's dark origins. The Bat-Hound Ace goes wild after catching the sight of a strange man, while Ace had taken him out for a walk. He chases after him, rips off the leash, and disappears. Bruce attempts to draw the man based on Terry's description and finds a match from the criminal records. Ronnie Boxer, a man who had been arrested for conducting illegal dogfights. Terry picks up the names of thugs who conduct dogfights and intends to pose as someone who wants to sell their vicious dog. It works out, and the thugs give him a location. Meanwhile, Bruce ponders over Ace's story. He was sold to Boxer illegally and raised in captivity. He's tormented and made to be aggressive. During his first match against a much larger dog, Boxer plans to send him back if Ace were to lose. However, the arena is raided before the match can begin, and Boxer is captured. Following that incident, Ace lives as a stray for a while. He meets Bruce at Crime Alley while a Joker's member tries to mug him. Ace jumps in to rescue Bruce, who later takes him to his new home. On the other side, Terry finds Boxer's hideout, where he comes across the growth hormone Seer Stone. Boxer's corrupt attendant manages to capture Ace from the streets, takes off his name tag, and sells him to Boxer at a high price. So, Terry finds his latest arena, but Boxer lays a trap, sealing the doors shut. Terry comes face to face with a huge, vicious creature that was once a bulldog. Terry evades the attack, but its impact loosens the locks on Ace's cage. Ace breaks free and tackles Boxer before he can shoot Terry, but the beast damages his suit. It swallows Terry, but Ace attacks the beast, forcing it to regurgitate Terry, who manages to electrocute the beast. As he leaves with Ace, Boxer is seen dangling off of the rail, with propellers below him. What did you think of these episodes? Did you enjoy the video? If yes, then don't forget to like and comment on the video. Till then, goodbye and have a nice one.